How hard was that pitch, you think?
7 miles an hour. It was about as fast as Leroy Horde ran in the open field. What's up, Leroy?
Leroy, welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Leroy, you watch baseball?
Did you watch the game?
Hey, by the way,
yeah.
I refuse to take this blasphemy from McNuggets.
17 miles an hour is fast.
I'm not doing this. Huh?
17 miles an hour is fast. Tyreek Hill runs 20 miles an hour. That was a compliment.
No, Tyreek Hill runs like 24. 17 is average.
That's
My bad.
It's a little bit
How
below
fast
average.
did you run in your prime, Leroy?
What was your 40 time?
4.4, 4.5.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Man,
Okay.
For a guy that size.
That is.
You know what? By the way, here's what has killed my life.
Wow.
Right?
Jeez.
And I want to be clear about this. I never played fullback. They just lined me up so they could get me the ball. And when I was in college, we ran the wishbone. And so, if you notice, when I played in the wishbone, I got on the bottom of the wishbone so I could carry the ball, not so I could block for somebody else. But for some reason, I became a fullback and a short yardage guy. And by the way, longest touchdown is 70 yards.
They ain't catch you, huh?
They ain't catch me.
Have you ever been caught from behind?
Yes.
Okay.
But not that time.
Hey, Leroy,
Think about this.
You were the guy.
We were
wait a
in
second.
Minnesota.
Leroy, you
was
were
playing-
the guy who famously said, you need 1 yard, I'll get you 3 yards. You need 5 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. So you kind of pigeonholed yourself.
But check this out. Check this out.
He did. That's true.
You could go into the game thinking that all I was going to do is run over you.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm fine with that.
You had some wiggle to you, Leroy?
Oh, I had some. Look, you know what they used to call me in Minnesota? The original toe popper. Quick as a cat. I was quick as a cat.
I'm asking Robert when he comes.
Ask Robert. Ask Robert.
Ask Robert.
Hey, ask Robert.
You know why people thought you were a fullback? Because you wore the largest shoulder pads ever issued in the history of the NFL.
That's true.
Blame Kevin Mack for that. When I got into the league, I was like, damn, they must be hitting up in here. Give me some of them K-Max.
Yeah, Kevin did have
It's like-
huge shoulder pads.
When I first got to Michigan, all of the running backs, Gerald White, Bob Perriman, they had these big old gigantic thigh pads. And I was like, oh, that's what we doing.
I remember those.
I
Those
got
had
the
the
big old
ridges
thigh
on.
pads.
Yeah.
My legs barely moved, but I was protected. Right?
Yeah, I did.
It wasn't until like my junior year I realized, hey man, I got to get these little pads so I can move.
Leroy, if you in the weight room, you don't need all them pads like that.
Shoot, I don't know what you talking about. hey, spoken like a guy who played in the secondary and didn't wear thigh pads.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I sure did not.
Right.
I used to cut mine. I used to cut mine
He
so
out
they didn't
there
have to
fixing
be
his
there.
jersey or whatever. Man, come on.
By the way, Leroy.
Nobody told you to play offense, Leroy. You could have played linebacker.
By the way, I got to give Leroy. I got to give Leroy this because everybody busts his chops about Michigan. My wife's brother, his brother-in-law, who I consider like a brother-in-law, we're good friends. He's a Michigan alum, and he went to Michigan the same time you did, and he said I was just talking to him this weekend. I saw him for the first time in a while. He goes, Leroy was my favorite player in college. Look at that. He's a Michigan guy.
All I did was play football, but I didn't. I don't think the fact that I played football made me any different than anybody else. So when I was on campus, I was a college kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had never really been out of the state of Louisiana. So I was enjoying it. And my whole thought was, if this is the last 4 years of my football career, then I'm going to make sure I take it all in, because we all think, that this is what our path is. but we don't know that for sure. And so one of my biggest regrets in football is this. We were 15-1 in Minnesota, and we were big favorites playing Atlanta in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, I remember.
And we lost, and it was over. And my regret is that I never got to appreciate being 15-1 because I always assumed that we would be in the Super Bowl. And now that it's over, it was like a wasted year of good football that I never really got a chance to enjoy.
Missed because the kicker who was perfect all year missed in the playoffs.
Right. It really sucked. It took me back to like make me think about, hey man, we started this to have fun and to have a good time and to hang out with friends and stuff like that. It don't mean you don't put the work in, but at any point in time, if you don't appreciate and still keep it fun, then it's time to quit. Yeah. Because that's the whole part of it. When you watch guys play, right, win or lose, you want to see them having fun. You want to see them doing what they do best, and that's the only thing that kind of frustrates me with the Browns is that whenever they get into a situation, if it's do or die time, I want to see them do or die with the guys that got them there. Yeah. And that's my only complaint. That's my only complaint with that. You get inside the 10, and I got nothing against Jacoby Brissett, but that's not why you got there.
Right, ride your horse.
So I want to ride or die with Chubb or Hunt. And the thing is if you use them enough, it makes it easier on Jacoby Brissett. Now keep in mind at 6'4", 240, I'd rather my chances of Jacoby Brissett running that ball than him throwing a pinpoint pass. Right? Because he looks like he had a little bit of room.
Yeah.
Leroy.
The other thing is that I don't know what goes through quarterbacks' minds because for some reason you go all over the league, they feel like they got to make the play because they're a quarterback. And a lot of times it gets them in trouble.
I watched Tom Brady's highlight reel. Leroy, do you know what a super chat is?
A what?
A super chat, because that's what I said too. I'm like, what the hell is a
super chat? Is that when the election went bad, or no? That's a hanging chat.
No, we're talking super chat. CHAT.
Super chat.
Yeah, here's McNuggets to explain what the hell that is.
Yeah, so Leroy, we implemented super chat this week on the show, and pretty much fans or viewers watching can pay, and we'll read their comment. So this comes from Donnie M. This is not me. This is Donnie M on super chat. He paid $20 for us to read this to you. Leroy was Michigan's greatest fullback.
I don't think he wanted to know that he spent $20 to you just supposed to let that slide.
No, it pops up. It shows it on there. It is public domain, and information stays on for 10 minutes with the monetary value. But he says Leroy was Michigan's greatest fullback. Go Bucks.
$20 to say that.
Yes. That is money well spent.
That is Donnie M.
Yes. And he said fullback.
Hey.
Quote, Leroy was Michigan's greatest fullback. Go Bucks.
That's what I'm talking about.
You want to know? Here, I'm going to tell y'all a story how I wore the Michigan banner prop. So every year in camp, the Ohio State coaches would come to Cleveland, right? And they have all their garb on, looking all nice and whatever. And so I said, I went up and shook all their hands, went down the line. They said, thank you. They said, well, what are you shaking our hands for? I said, because if it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't be here. And then one guy goes, who the hell are you? I say, oh, hold on. You used to see in the back of me. Let me turn around.
Wow.
So,
wow, Leroy.
Hey.
Wow.
Hey, look, if we gonna do it, we gonna do it. I ain't never backing down.
I can't wait until a month from now.
You can't wait.
Thanksgiving.
Listen,
it's going down. There's no hiding.
Once a year, every day of the week.
That's going to be a fun week.
I wear Michigan stuff. and that's the only day I don't is Thanksgiving. And that's usually when, because keep in mind, back in the day, I only knew when Thanksgiving was because it was the Thursday after the Ohio State-Michigan game. Now they moved it to the following week.
Yeah.
So I take a day off of my Michigan stuff just for Thanksgiving because I need more room for pie.
I'm not even gonna go there with you. Just know that Wednesday of that week We're gonna have a show. Just be ready.
That's gonna be great.
Just be ready.
By the way,
no doubt.
By the way, Leroy in fourth place in the fantasy league.
Is
fourth
he?
place.
That's not bad.
Right
Who's
now,
in fourth place?
you're in fourth place at a 10.
Don't even talk about me, bro. It's irrelevant.
9 out of 10.
It's
Hold
irrelevant.
on.
It's irrelevant.
Is it safe to make the assumption that because I beat him, he's below me?
Yes.
Tyvis is 9.
That's
I'm
all
10.
that matters.
What is wrong with y'all?
We kicked the
I
season
lost by like
off.
180
Listen.
points this week.
Listen, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish.
That's a
true.
fact.
So
that is a
y'all
fact.
can
Yeah,
sit
but you
there
still
and
got
gloat,
the same
and it
players.
can easily.
I'm playing Leroy this week.
Easily get a major injury, and it could be over with. So don't do that.
Yeah, but here's the problem. You're not going to win it in the first 5 weeks, but you damn sure can lose it. If you're 0-5, you're done.
I'm not 0-5.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not.
What's your
No.
record?
He's
1-4.
Nobody's 0-5. Nobody's 0-5.
I got a chance.
You're ahead of McNuggets.
Leroy,
Yeah, I'm not
me
doing the
versus
stand-up
Leroy this
thing.
week.
Who's playing Leroy?
Me and Leroy in the battle for third place
What's the
right
matchup
now.
projection?
I'm a big favorite, but he's got some injured guys that he hasn't replaced yet.
Look at that.
All right.
Now you down
Yeah.
the mile. You
He's
walking
got
the
his
mile
tight
world.
end is out. Darren Waller's hurt, and you got Teddy Bridgewater in there.
Well,
He's
you'll
hurt,
want to
obviously,
watch it at 12:45-ish because Dave Richard is going to be on for Waiver Wire Wednesday,
Yep.
and who knows, maybe he can tell you who you can pick up
there. Yeah.
to jump. Hey, let's talk specifically about the Browns' defense against the Patriots' offense. There's some talk that we don't know who's going to be quarterback, and I think this is quintessential Bill Belichick.
Oh, yeah.
But this is what Bill does. He's leaving some question as to whether or not it'll be Bailey Zappi, who has played extremely well.
Has anybody ever heard of Bailey Zappi before
Yeah,
a week
Nuggets
ago?
did because he
Yeah.
played at Houston Baptist
He
or
played at
something.
Houston Baptist
yeah.
and then
I
transferred
knew-
to Western
I had
Kentucky.
never heard of this guy
I
before
knew
a
him
week
coming
ago.
out, and I was one of those guys that was like, he was interesting because he had the most passing yards and most touchdowns. So I was like,
Right.
oh, that's like, you don't do that by
FBS passing
accident.
record
Now,
last
for the
year.
record,
Yeah.
most teams considered him undraftable. But for a guy who started at Houston Baptist and went to Western Kentucky, listen to his numbers so far through a game and a half. 27 of 36, 287 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. And they lost to Green Bay in overtime, and they beat the Detroit Lions 29-0.
Yeah.
So it's not quite Tom Brady yet. He's
Wow.
got a little work to do.
Wait,
But it's
Hey, by the way,
interesting.
I mean, Detroit's got the worst defense
that
in
is how
football,
Tom
probably.
Brady started.
Tom Brady started
See,
because of an injury.
Yep.
No,
You're right.
but I'm saying when we look back at
Undraftable.
Tom Brady's career, we chalk up that first year as a Super Bowl year. But if you go look at his numbers, they were okay.
They were just okay. You're right.
Nothing special.
All right.
And so, now 20 years later, we like to go back and kind of, say, oh, Tom Brady was great right out of the gate, but he wasn't.
no, he was not.
And so, but here's what's gonna happen.
Do you want Zappi or Mac Jones?
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It
Here's what's
don't.
gonna
Yeah,
happen.
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I know
what-
go ahead and tell them because I know exactly what's going to happen. They can have me back at
Here's what's
quarterback.
gonna happen in this game. Here's what's gonna happen on this game on Sunday. Bill Belichick is gonna take one aspect of your game away,
Yep.
or try to,
Probably the run.
and that's running the football.
yeah.
And he's going to do whatever he can to stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and dare Jacoby Brissett to beat him.
And he knows
That's what he
Jacoby
does.
well.
And guess what? That's what he should do. However, there ain't been nobody in the NFL to stop these dudes. Nobody.
They can't.
Except the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, you're right. Stefanski
So-
has stopped them.
So it's okay to be a passing team, but understand where you start. And that's what I think. See, we all say when we get in those times, those crunch times, those times of need, we revert back to what we know best. Right? That's what we do. But we don't do that. Because at the end of that game, I don't care what the scenario is. I don't care if you go, motion, move them around, or whatever. Those two guys got to get the ball. Now, here's where coaching comes in. You just find creative ways to get them the ball instead of just turning around and handing it to them. That's how you change it up. Don't think, okay, we can just run up the middle. You might have to pull a trap. You might have to do a counter. You might have to do a lot of different things. But the ball need to be in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt's hands inside the 10. Because the worst way to lose in any sport, the worst way to lose is not even having an opportunity to go out with your best.
Yeah, don't get beat with your second best pitch.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. If you throw heat and you're a baseball pitcher, you throw heat, you would be absolutely livid if you throw a changeup and it get hit 400 feet.
Happens all the time.
Right?
You're right.
Happens all the time. And the thing about coaches who have been in the league for a while is that they okay with throwing their best on the field and saying, come get some. It's the newer coaches, it's the analytics coaches that want to look at a piece of paper and determine the best way to beat the team across from them. And the problem is that, you know what beats other teams? Talent. I don't care what situation you put them in, at some point, they got to tackle Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Who has the most yards, breaking tackles? Nick Chubb. Which means that even if you don't block them all, it's no guarantee he's still not going to break it. Why wouldn't you test that theory?
Leroy, let's flip the other way, because you're right. I think we all agree with you on this. There's no doubt about it. But the other way, the Browns' run defense the last 2 weeks has been about as bad as you could possibly be. The Patriots are a running team. They did lose their starter.
Even though their running back's out.
Right, one of them, right. Harris is
matter.
out. But we've seen them. We saw them last year in that bad weather game run the ball every play. Like, do you think we'll see like 80? Like, could it be to the point where they run it 80% of the time, or is that too crazy?
But here's the thing, that you got to have either stones as a coach, or not care because you're secure in your job. To say, I'm only gonna throw it 3 times. How many coaches would do that? Somebody's gonna get, we got to run a little play action. We got to do something. Yeah. No, you win the game. Just win the game. Get to next week. I don't care if it's 3-0. I think we get so caught up. Like I think a lot of NFL teams play like there's NFL rankings like in college. And they got to have impressive wins. Right? Instead of just winning the game. You know, I don't want to, I've had conversations and people say, the Browns could have lost the first game, because they didn't finish and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay? Just win the game. Do whatever you got to do to win the game. And a lot of times, sometimes, the simplest of things is what'll get you there. So I'm not, I think that these are some of the things that Kevin Stefanski is still learning, because it's hard when you have the offense that he's capable of having to realize that I don't need half of this playbook, because the first 5 plays will win games than a lot of other teams, right? Run left, run right, play action over the middle, right? That's it. Is that it? When they were running the hell out of the ball, Njoku seemed to look like a Pro Bowl tight end. But that's how the game is played for them right now. And so accept it and just move on. The fact that you could get to the crunch time of the game, and the difference between a lot of coaches and Bill Belichick is, I told you the story. We were in a playoff game against New England. Call a timeout. We're on the 10-yard line. It's windy. Everything's going crazy. We get me, Eric, and Vinny are on the sideline. Bill's talking about check this, blah, 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 blah. Break. Whistle blow. We go back on the field. And Bill just yells, "Hey, Vinny, don't screw it up like you did against Pittsburgh." Guess what? He handed it off. He didn't try to out-trick the defense. We blocked them up and scored. So sometimes the simplest of football gets it done more than this elaborate scheme you have. And I think sometimes Stefanski needs to understand that look, he's an unbelievable offensive coach. And I think a lot of times when you have so much knowledge and ability to get something done, it almost seems as if you are unwilling to do what everybody else would do, right? You take 20 coaches and put them in that situation at the end of the game, what they going to do? They're going to hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt. They're going to hand it off to Nick Chubb. They're going to have safe rollout plays. That's what they're going to do. And they're going to say to Jacoby Brissett, if it ain't there, run it. Because how many times have we heard a coach say that to a quarterback? They'll tell him, hey, field goal takes the lead. Don't do nothing stupid, right? So I don't know if it's a communication thing. I don't know, if, it's going to take, what it's going to take to just get, not necessarily simplify it, but understand who your playmakers are. Understand who the guys you can depend on no matter what, and then go from there.
Tell you what, Leroy, I think when it comes to the Browns defense, we talked about the running defense being terrible.
Dude,
don't you think it's all about, forget the players, forget the scheme. The Browns got to show some freaking pride on defense. They got to go out there and just kick some ass.
Oh,
Let's see how tough this is. Let's see it.
Y'all sound like me a week ago.
Let's go.
Yeah.
No, hey, let me explain something. Tyvis can attest to this. Any school, any team, any organization that you've ever played against that has had the elite pass rush that they have on the outside, right? You let them do what they do, and then you run right underneath it. One of the things that makes pass rush good or bad on defense is the pressure in the middle. If you don't have no pressure in the middle, then you know what you're going to see? Quarterback back up, take a step forward. Those two rush ends going to bang into each other, and then you go on about your way. And that's what happened. Now, my only concern is this. When it gets to the point when you realize that you can't do it that way and you can't get pressure up the middle just with your two tackles, then you got to find other ways to get pressure up the middle, right? We have a rule on offense. If we can't block them with 5, we'll leave 6 in. We can't block them with 6, we'll leave 7 in. But understand, if there's 7 men in, there's only 2 guys on the route. And so...
Well, the Falcons did that to us and got a 40-yard completion.
Right. But that's what they do. That's what you do. That's football. You can't just keep doing the same thing and getting gashed without understanding what you got to do.
My issue with it, Leroy, is this. Because a lot of times, people think it's the linebackers, and they're like, wow. And don't get me wrong, our linebackers do look inexperienced at times. But I was looking at it, and it's like, you asking me to play linebacker, but how am I supposed to do what I'm supposed to do when I got my defensive tackles is in my lap? So, yeah, the Browns did a great job. You go out and you go trade for a linebacker, but he's going to get in there and get the same problem. I got 2 defensive tackles in my lap. I can't move to make the play. So they need to, why will they not go out there and address that situation? That's the frustrating part to me.
Well,
the glare issue for this defense and why it doesn't work, yeah, you got some inexperienced linebackers, but it's because you don't have no dogs. You need somebody with an attitude that can play in the middle and at least take up a double team or at least at worst stand your ground. Don't get blew off the ball. And that's, until we get that, it's going to be they run, trap, and dive all game.
Right, and that's what they're doing. They're going off tackle. They pushing either Clowney or Myles Garrett up the field, and they're going right underneath them. But here's what I would do, Tyvis. What you have to do is stun them. You gotta create for those guys. We do it on offense. When you can't block them up in the middle, then you do some things to kind of still get the job done, but you got to be more creative with it. I don't understand.
That's what's been lacking,
At
though,
what
Leroy.
point? Huh?
That's exactly what's been lacking, though. You're not getting pressure from your DNs, yet you're not drawing up any other blitz schemes to try to send more guys after the quarterback.
like
there is zero creativity in this defense.
He's stubborn.
Let's bring Robert into the conversation, too, because he's here as well.
Watch. Ask him.
Yeah,
Ask him. Ask him.
Robert,
Robert.
what was Leroy's nickname in Minnesota?
That's funny. I don't know. Mouth?
No. What did Carl call me? What did Carl call me?
I don't
Toe
remember.
popper. The original toe popper.
See, but we also had the ads, the ass dude. So we had I was light ass dude. There was dark ass dude, chocolate ass dude, and Leroy was Tad, T-A-D, talking ass dude.
So hey, everybody else had a color, and they just did. I think they did that just so they could say I talk a lot. That's it.
Yeah.
It was effective, though. It worked.
I remember Leroy had TMJ, which is like a jaw condition. And we said, no, TMJ, it's got a new meaning now. It's too much John.
Hey, so Robert, check this out. So, and you've played enough offense, and you've heard enough offensive coordinators say this, that when you go through a course of a game, and you having problems protecting the quarterback, that offensive coordinator will come to the sideline and say, hey, if we can't block them with 5, we're going to block them with 6. If we can't block them with 6, we're going to block them with 7. That's just the way we're going to do things. And defensively, if we start gashing them and running the football, the safeties start creeping in. Now, the way it worked with us was when you see those safeties coming up, that was a Randy Moss pass.
Mm-hmm.
Because he one-on-one, he could outrun everybody. So you have counters to everything that either the offense or the defense does, and you kind of play this game during the whole course of the game. I don't understand with the Browns why they continue to do the same thing and think that it's going to get better.
Stubborn.
Because they got defensive tackles 10 yards down the field because they getting blowed off the line of scrimmage, right? And nobody on the sideline say, hey, maybe we ought to change it up a little bit. Let's move them around a little bit. Let's get some linebacker help or something, right? They just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's wild. And and
200 yards.
I heard Tyvis talking about it. He's right. And this is, they came into the game. The Chargers came into the game as one of the worst rushing offenses in the league. Averaging just under 3 yards a carry, and ran for, I think, 170 yards more than their season total, season average. So, yeah, you're right, man. You got to do something different. And if it's not, it's got to be extra bodies if you don't have the personnel. And if you don't have the personnel from week to week, you got to think about replacing that personnel. And I agree. You bring in Deion Jones at linebacker. It's the same. It's the same solution that you've been doing. And what do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And it seems like they're doing the same thing over and over. You look around the league and, I've had the opportunity to call, games in different places this year, and teams just get creative. Vance Joseph last week, Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator, going against Philadelphia, he brings a lot of pressure out of the secondary. And a lot of it is, to counter run. It's not just a counter pass. I think people always think of extra bodies as, being there, for blitzing and pressuring the quarterback. But sometimes you got to do that in a run. But it's always give and take, right? Like you said, if it's a 7 or an 8-man protection, you might only get 2 or 3 out into the route. And if you bring extra bodies up into the line of scrimmage to try and stop the run or to generate pressure, then you're going to leave yourself exposed on the back end.
Which is the last thing this defense can afford to do.
Well, here's the deal, though. when you're getting gashed for 200 yards, at that point, it doesn't matter if you give up a pass. Just don't give up. Stop something.
Yeah.
You
got to stop something.
That's what I was saying.
You have got to stop. You can't let a team just run the ball down your throat, period.
That's the
You just can't
easiest thing to do, is let them run.
Absolutely. Turn around and hand the ball off. At least you're throwing the ball can get tipped, ball can get dropped, ball can get intercepted. That's that old saying, you drop back to throw the ball and, three things can happen and two of them are bad. You have to try and stop the run first. That's the first goal of any defense. And you're right. If you're not controlling gaps up front, or even worse, if you're getting pushed back to the linebacker level so those guys can't move, let alone flow, you got no chance.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've seen the last couple of weeks. Leroy, I know you got to run. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully next week we're celebrating a win and not dissecting the same nonsense week after week.
Well, hey, my advice to the Browns is stop the damn run.
Stop the run. Before we let you go, do you think they win Sunday?
Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. What's his name? Zappy?
Bailey Zappi.
Bailey Zappi.
Don't say that. That boy led. He broke the record in college. Don't do that.
Broke the where?
Most
At Saginaw State?
Most passing yards and most passing touchdowns in college history.
Yeah, but usually the guys that hold those records in college aren't good in the NFL.
That's fine.
No, I know, but they usually don't go to play for Bill Belichick.
That's true, too.
Fair. That's fair. Those are sweet-looking uniforms right there.
Yeah, those are their best.
I like the old school ones.
He can
With the little
pass the ball. That's all I
Hey, listen, Leroy, enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, buddy.
And we'll see you next week, hopefully talking about a Browns victory. Robert, do you have a gut on this one?